Welcome back to Saturday Social, where we are joined by Alex Moneypenny and Ben Bowman. Right, as the new year is fast approaching, Joe, we thought now would be the perfect time to pick every Premier League club's breakout start of 2026. It's fairly straightforward. On the Saturday Social whiteboard, we've got all the teams in alphabetical order. Look, brilliant. Shout out to the guys behind the scenes for stripping the boards so quickly, by the way. Alex is going to be taking the lead with this. Ben, we want your thoughts on his picks as we go. Now, Alex, you're quite keen to let us know the thought process behind the picks, because there's some intriguing names in here, I shall say.
So obviously there's a lot of young players who I think will have a breakout, but also players, like, I don't want to just talk about that the whole time. There's certain players who I think basically public perception by next year has taken a leap forward. So there's some players who are in sort of the late stage of their career, but I think will take another level.
So not necessarily youth players that are going to flourish.
Basically.
Okay.
Players that
So
are going to jump
first up,
forward.
Arsenal, you've gone with the young player.
With Max Dowman. Look, I think there's basically a bit of a question mark about where Arsenal's third midfield slot goes. Martin Odegaard is a fantastic player, but I think the way the league is trending, long balls, less build-up, more transition, more intensity, he's got some questions to answer, basically. And I think Max Dowman, not Waneri, because I think Waneri will get on loan, to be honest, next season. I think Dowman's going to get some minutes.
Ridiculous talent,
He's
Max Dowman, isn't he?
incredible. I watched him.
I think
it's a good pick.
I think all of us were not surprised when we saw that.
Yes.
Because,
but the next one, I think we were surprised.
But then you've gone from Max Dowman to Boubacar Kamara, who's played 118 times for Villa. Obviously, we've seen a lot of him. We know what he can do. So why Kamara as a breakout star for you?
I think in terms of public perception, this could just be my perception, but in terms of public perception, I think he takes a leap forward. He's one of the only profiles in the league who I think can properly play lone six. I don't know whether he gets a move or whatever, but I think with the way he's playing at Villa this season, I think possibly he does get a move and goes to some, like I'm not saying Villa aren't a big club, but, you know, a massive Champions League club. I've been really, really impressed with him. I mean, last time we were on, we were speaking about Villa, and I probably have massively underrated them this season.
Yeah.
I've been to watch them, and I think Boubacar Kamara has been fantastic for them.
The one thing I'm going to say about Boubacar Kamara, obviously, very rarely gets involved in the France squad, which I think helps him dramatically. But he has signed that new deal as well, hasn't he, at Villa? I feel like if I was a Villa fan, I'd be sitting here thinking, he is one of the best movers in the league
been banging
today.
this drum for I think Kamara is one of those players that I do think he's been called underrated for so long now that maybe he is starting to become fairly rated, but maybe it's just establishing himself as like a household name like Wharton, Anderson, etc. have done, because I think he is almost, and I don't want to just sell him off to Aston Villa. I know those fans will get annoyed about that, and rightly so, but he should be in that conversation. If a top side is looking for a defensive midfielder like Wharton, like Anderson, he should also be in that conversation. I think he's a brilliant player.
They've won 57% of games with him playing and 45% when not starting.
Okay, next up.
Been up all night trying to pronounce this. Milosavljevic.
Good
work.
So I think basically this is about Bournemouth's sort of transition. I think Senesi is going to leave, from what I hear.
He's out of contract, I think.
He's out of contract, and I think this guy's going to take over. The reason I also say it as a breakout, when you watch Bournemouth press, he's quite sort of unconventional in his style. He runs a bit like Šeško. He's quite sort of, I don't want to say lumbering, but he's a big guy. He's very, very good. I think the way Bournemouth press, when he steps out, sort of in that Gabriel sense, he sort of gets into midfield and sort of backs up the press in a really good way. Yeah, I really, really rate this talent. I think he's been sort of in and out of the team, but 18 years old, I think he's going to play well next season.
Okay, stick him up.
Down. Brentford, who you gone for?
This is a brave shout, I feel, because I feel like Michael Coyote is almost become a household name this season.
Yeah. I think he gets a move. Until I looked into the dual numbers and some of his sort of underlying metrics, I was sort of thinking, nice player.
Yeah.
He's right up there. He's like up there with Jury and Timber. And obviously the long throw. I know we sort of joke about the long throw thing, but I think it's here to stay. And I think certain clubs will look at this and go basically, okay, yeah, we could do with
Most
that.
long throws into the box of anyone in the Premier League, Mate,
it's a proper skill. And I think, no disrespect to Brentford, but I think potentially at 21 years old, he might get a big move. I mean, I'm looking from an Arsenal perspective. Ben White is probably potentially on the way out in the summer. He is definitely someone I'd look at. He's got the broadest shoulders I've ever seen, by the way. Incredible. He's a very good player.
The trajectory on the long throws
that's
is
the
unbelievable.
difference. It's not a looper, it's a fizzer.
I was going to chuck Igor Thiago in there as well, because I feel like he's having a breakthrough season because of the injuries that he's had previously, the goals that he's scoring. I feel like this season is sort of overflowing from the start of this season, but there's a lot of excitement around him, and I think he's going to have a big part
Who
of
have you gone for, Brighton?
Brighton. There was a centre forward called Simas who's just done his ACL.
Yeah, so such a shame.
Yeah, because I put him in my Wonder Kids 11. De Kuyper, he said in an interview recently he wants to be the left-sided Trent, basically. And he's got some really good creative numbers. He's ahead of Odegaard, I think he's ahead of Wirtz, and some really top creative players in the league. He's got, I think Alan Shearer recently said, crossing is back, and he's probably talking about players like De Kuyper. I think from what I see, Brighton fans are pretty happy with him. I think if he's able to get running the team together, I think by this time next year we could be looking at a sort of player we go creatively. He's one of those best in the league from fullback.
Okay, let's get him.
Let's go to Burnley, because I'm
This is one of the craziest
I'm
shouts.
not having this so much because this is a player that we know so much about. Plays every game for Burnley. He was in the EFL Championship Team of the year last year. Was linked with loads of clubs.
Started the last 77 league games.
Started the last 77. He's one of their best players. So has he not already broken through?
Similarly,
based on all of that.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, Burnley fans might disagree with this, but I think in terms of public perception of where this guy is, I think the way he defends the box. I watched him against Arsenal. I've never seen many players lock down Bukayo Saka, and he absolutely did.
Really good player.
I think unfortunately Burnley are going to go down, and I think he gets a move, and that's what I'm saying. So I think he probably goes to like an Everton or somewhere up there. And I think he really established himself as a left-footed centre-back as well. There's obviously not loads at the very, very top level. So I think sorry, Burnley fans, I think he gets a move, and that's why he sort of established himself.
Like you said, I think that could have happened in the summer, though. I think Tottenham was sniffing around. It was like a backup to Van der Ven, and I think he suits that kind of profile quite well. There's a couple at Burnley that are in that sort of similar mould, I guess. Like, I think Ogachukwu is another one who is like...
Yeah, he's a good player.
In the sense that people have an awareness of him on maybe a similar level to someone like Esteve, but I think he's taken a bit of a jump with consistent game time this year and could become more of a household name next year. So, I think
Ogachukwu was a good shout. We were chatting about him in rehearsal.
Yeah, he's playing a bit further forward as well, isn't he, at Burnley? So it's like he's great for them.
Before we reveal Chelsea, who would you go with for Chelsea? Because obviously they're notorious to have a lot of young players, talent coming through.
I mean, Andre Santos, I think, has been pretty decent for them when he's played in spells this year. I think Chelsea's a tough one because there's so many young players there.
Such a plethora of young talent.
So much competition for places. I think that's really tough.
I like your pick.
I've gone for Acheampong.
Yeah.
I think Chelsea fans, some club fans won't agree with this. I think Chelsea fans will all agree with this. He's incredible. He's 6'4". He carries unbelievable. Yep. The word I use about Acheampong is he's stable. Everything is so stable. The way he receives the ball, the way he carries, the way he moves, duels. He looks so calm, so composed. The question for Chelsea is where he plays. Obviously, the right-back slot is pretty stacked. But they're also looking for, I would argue, that real centre-back partnership to sort of flourish somewhere. Is it him and Colwill? Is it him and somebody else? I don't know.
And with the likes of Esteve, you think he's already broken through? You think
Well, I mean, you could go with him as well. But I think Acheampong really establishes himself in 2026 for Chelsea, because that's the area of the pitch that I look at for Chelsea and go, you need something in there.
I think Maresca's got to trust him a little bit more as well. He came out after the Leeds defeat and said that my biggest regret from that game is not playing Josh in that game. Yeah. And I think, he's great. I think when Colwill comes back from that ACL injury, which is back end of this season, probably not going to make it for the World Cup, I think they suit each other quite nicely. Acheampong is like I said, commanding defender, very technically sound. Colwill's very good on the ball. There's good ground coverage across that back four as well. If you've got Cucurella and James there, I think next year he could become... Because Chelsea, that's been the thing that's held them back, isn't it? Really, their defence. Fofana's in a good run of games right now in terms of fitness. Chalobah has been decent since he's gone back there. Tosin, I think, has let them down in certain individual moments in terms of making mistakes. I think if they can establish Acheampong and Colwill as a centre-back partnership next season, I think they complement each other really nicely.
This next one's crazy.
A reminder.
So this is an interesting
reminder that we're going for their stock rising.
Which it is.
Kamada's stock is massively rising.
Yeah. But hamstring injury for 2-3 months.
Yeah, but we're talking about 2026, the whole season, the whole of the end of next season and the
calendar year.
Yeah, the calendar year. I think whenever I watch Palace, whenever they play in the big games, they have this 5 in the middle and they work so hard out of possession, getting out wide. They sort of block the middle, and if the ball circulates wide, Kamada's straight out there. He's so good out of possession. I think when he was signed, he was more of sort of like a 10, and they sort of dropped him in that role. Him and Wharton out of possession. Honestly, I think he's one of the massively underrated aspects of Palace's success. I appreciate Palace fans, we've had him for ages, but in terms of his stock going up through the ranks, I think he'll take that step next season.
Palace is a difficult one for youngsters as well, because obviously the other night they rotated everybody in that kind of last game in the Conference League, but Glasner hasn't rotated actually too much in that competition, and obviously their league defeats have all come off the back of Conference League games, showing that maybe those players are a bit more tired, so he's not necessarily trusting those younger players so much in the league or in that competition, so it's hard to kind of nail down a younger guy. You've got like Roman Esse, Uche's only on loan there.
I can't say Wharton's going to break through.
Yeah,
They've
he's
got
already
JD Cambo, who's the 19-year-old centre-back who was originally signed as the replacement to Gahey and did play midweek in the in Europe. And I think he's if we're looking at Gahey, he's potentially someone that leaves. He's going to be someone that you'd imagine would have a breakthrough given his age profile. But,
possibly.
Let's move on to Everton anyway.
I think when a fan base backs you this much and you haven't scored until December, that tells you something about the player.
Yeah.
Really good aerial outlet, great teeth. Just like a really, really solid player. I think in terms of the runs he makes, he's quick. Everton fans have really taken to him, and I think he's got a real presence to him. He's one of those players you can see how much it means to him and how much he wants it.
Yeah.
I just think a couple of goals and it will just start to naturally. I feel like almost he wants it a little bit too much at times, and you've seen it when he's come off the pitch a couple of times. I think next season, if he just gets even 5 goals, it will start to happen for him.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Next up, I think is bit of a tapping almost. He's been so electric when he's been playing.
Yeah.
Young Josh King.
So my question mark about Josh King has been, we've got a lot of these sort of attacking midfielder, Waneri type players who are, sort of young English U21 talent. So what sets him apart? In a league that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, he's 5'8". And I think that low centre of gravity, that quality, the sort of darting in and out of spaces might really help him. The goal he scored against Chelsea, the goal that never was, I think was should have been his moment. And I think, I hope for him.
I think it's a good shout.
That differentiates.
I think it's a good shout. Sticking by most minutes played by any teenager in the Premier League, by the way, which is a metric of just how much he's rated and how much game time he's already had. So a decent shout. Leeds.
Yes. So similarly, Okafor obviously has been around. He's been at Basel, he's been at Napoli, and so on and so forth. So breakthrough in a slightly different way. I think he's so close. Whenever I watched him against, was it Villa? The Rodgers game? I think it was that game. He's just taking one touch too many in the final third. If he just simplifies his game a touch, I promise you the goals are coming. And his out of possession work, the toss-in moment, that is caused because of him.
Yeah.
His out of possession work is amazing. And I just think he's, again, similar to, in a different sort of sense to like Kamada, he just needs one moment. He needs one big goal or something. And I think his style would just
I think in the last 2 or 3 games he's been really good.
Yeah, I think he encapsulates a lot of what Leeds do quite well. Very energetic, very direct, a threat.
Going to chuck in Harry Gray for Leeds as well. 17-year-old Archie Gray's younger brother. So much promise around him. Not made his Premier League debut. Did play last season.
Next one. This Liverpool, for me is majorly controversial.
So I would have picked Curtis Jones in terms of that star going to that next
Rio
level.
was right there.
I think Rio might be a year or 2 away. If they go to a 3. That's my big thing. This is what we spoke about with Loz last time we were on the show.
Wow.
If they go to a 3 and play with wing backs, I think Jeremy Frimpong will be there.
Ben, your face.
Yeah,
I mean, wow, as you saw that magnet.
I don't hate the logic at all. I'm not sure. I think Frimpong everyone knows Frimpong. He's an established household name. But we've not necessarily seen the best of him at Liverpool. And if you're saying that change to a system will bring the best out of him, then that's fair. But yeah, I think Rio and Gamoa, even potentially Leone, if he recovers from that ACL next year, if they were to go to a 3, have a third centre-back in there, I think he would be worthy of a shout. I mean, I don't disagree with the logic.
The attack, I mean, look, obviously people know him, but in terms of
going to go to the 3,
I don't know. I don't know.
Depends if Alonso goes
a lot of people are saying potentially, but I think if they do that, he could be considered one of the best fullbacks in the league at some point in the next sort of.
All right, your list. Stick him down. We move on to Man City. Another quite established name, but I'm guessing you're thinking he's going to take his game to another level next season.
Superstar. Similarly again, I think you have Haaland, Salah level. Then I think you have that next tier of probably Saka, maybe Isak's in there, something like that. And probably most people see Shirky just below that. I think he goes into that next tier. I don't think he's quite at Haaland level in the next
goal midweek
12 years, but I think, I mean, the way he uses his arms, the Rabona, he's a proper throwback footballer, which I love, and I think people are really sort of after, both from an eye perspective, but also in a league that is so transitional, runny. He sort of goes against the grain. I think that's why he'll succeed.
Yeah, the appetite for players like that probably hasn't been greater.
Exactly.
Great.
I love Shirky.
How he shifts the ball left to right or right to left is such a clever player.
Man United.
I think Heaven will begin to establish himself. Obviously, got a bit of a Haaland bias here, but I just think he's so brave. I don't know if you saw Rio and Bruno's interview during the week where they spoke about him and they said he can just turn it on and he's just so composed. I love players who play it through the lines with confidence, with ease, who feel that they have that quality. I think there's so many good players. We always talk about, this player's great, this player's great. So what's the separator? What's the difference between those players who, and it is up here.
Yeah.
And I think Heaven has that real presence and quality of I deserve to be here.
I think it's tough as well when you look at that Man United backline at the moment. He's been asked to play starting.
Yeah.
It's like, Luke Shaw, who's traditionally a left back playing there, playing alongside another teenager. There's not many Premier League teams that have two teenagers starting at centre half in the back line. So I think he's doing a really good job, Aidan.
And didn't he move over to right when you went to a 4? When you went 3-2 down against, didn't he move over to the right-hand side as well?
Lenny, I think, moved a little bit.
Oh, right, yeah. So, but again,
side,
playing in different systems, like...
But just teenage centre-backs, it's hard to come by, man.
Yeah, he's got good
Exactly,
temperament, especially with the pressure and the scrutiny of playing for Man United as well, when there is so much scrutiny around the system itself.
And also when your manager's saying, what is it, young players entitled, or whatever he was saying this week?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I think sometimes players need a moment, like a sort of a lift-off thing. I think that was the goal against Fulham in the Carabao Cup. Lewis Miley's actually been around for a long time. He's been around since like 2023.
The first Champions League season, wasn't it?
Yeah, only 19, by the way.
And similar. There's a lot of players who they have the moment, and then there's just a sort of period of development. I think Newcastle have needed something this season. I said this about Liverpool when I was last on. Sometimes when things aren't quite going well, you need a young player. For us, it was Smith Rowe. You just have a spark, or Saka as well. And I think Lewis Miley is, especially when there's sort of question marks about that midfield composition, I think he could make a big stake. I think this time next year we could be talking about him as an established Premier League star.
Yeah,
get him in.
I agree with that.
I think a lot of Newcastle fans might agree with that. Let us know what you think, but it's
Forest.
solid pick, I think, that one.
So, again, in terms of his development, where he is, I just really like him. I mean, there's not much there's not much sort of. I mean, his celebrations are good.
Good back to goal, isn't he?
Yeah,
holding the ball up.
He's and sort of reading around. Forest fans love him. He works really, really hard. He's one of those players who probably you don't really. Oh, so I'm not a Forest fan, but so I don't really think about him for sort of the vast majority of the season if I'm not watching their games. And then you get to the end of the season, you look at the numbers and you go, 12 goals, 8 assists, or something like that, and you sort of go, okay.
He's been quite productive in the Europa League. I think he's only got one goal in the league so far, but I think in the Europa League he's
got 5
a bit more. Yeah. I like Jesus, the way he's got quite centre halves.
6 and 6, I think.
Yeah.
I think, sorry to say, I think he might move on from Forest at some point.
Oh my word, you're selling everybody off early doors. You've got to start doing it.
Sorry.
Sunderland. I feel like Sunderland, there's quite a few options to choose from.
This was difficult, and I basically could have. I mean, obviously, I don't. Again, in terms of whose stock is going to rise, I was looking. You can't really pick Rurf's. His stock is risen so quickly, and maybe it continues. I don't know.
No, Siddiqui.
Whoever it might be.
Do you in your train of thought?
Siddiqui, I think is going to move. This is part of the thinking about this. I think Siddiqui is going to move. Diarra was Sunderland's most expensive summer signing. And when I look at their record in the window over the summer, I'm sort of going, OK, if you've signed him and he's obviously been out, there's something there. I think he's more of a goal threat. Sunderland have only scored something like, I think their goal difference is like 2. They've only scored like 19 goals or something. They don't actually score that many goals, and he's a bit more of a goal scorer. And I think if Sunderland are signing you for £30 million, whatever it was, I think there's something there with
Head out to AFCON as well, Ben. Let's go. Right, next up is Spurs. So, Ben, you are a Spurs fan.
Pick?
So before we reveal Alex, who would you go for as Tottenham's breakout start?
I think if you're looking at it as a more like taking a lot of things into consideration, like you've done with a lot of the picks in terms of not just picking wonder kids. I think your pick is good, but I think Luca Williams-Barnett is an academy product. I think is someone that will take that step to the next level next year. I think he might go out on loan a bit like what we've seen with Mikey Moore this year at Rangers. I think Mikey Moore actually might be in with the shout as well, because he's got a good 6 months of football under his belt now at Rangers, where new manager change, system change, he's playing some of his best football there, looks really settled, going and playing in a high pressure environment up in Scotland as well. So I think to bring that back to the Premier League and that maturity that he'll come back with, I think he could be someone that takes that next step as well, that he kind of threatened to when he got game time last year. Williams-Barnett is another player who's coming through our academy,
so
incredibly exciting talent. It's just like that level where he's playing in the under-21 Premier League at the moment is way too easy for him. Way too easy. But I think in terms of someone, all things considered, who is getting game time at the moment, I'm a fan of your pick.
Which is?
I love a lot.
Archie Gray.
Yeah.
So when we did the Wonder Kids 11, I picked Archie Gray, and I think there was a lot of people who sort of didn't seem to like that. I've always liked Archie Gray. I've always thought, in terms of that versatility, it's that sort of if you had 11 Archie Grays type thing. He's, I think, also specifically, and again, I'm thinking about players like Miloslav Djordjevic, sort of the situation they find themselves in. He's in a Spurs team, in my opinion. You tell me if I'm wrong. You need some progression. You need some progression, certainly through the middle of the pitch.
Me,
You need some bravery in the middle of the pitch as well. I do think the Vicario thing, he's been protected a little bit, but what I love is that he went again. He just carries on. He keeps going. He doesn't. That doesn't weigh him down. I think he's going to have a big.
I think you put Bergvall in that mix as well, because I think that the Bergvall and Archie Gray development has been very similar. I think that they've been thrusted quite early on in various positions because of the injury situation we had last season. So there's a lot of interesting talking points.
And I think to be fair, I think Bergvall's probably got more general hype than Gray.
Yeah.
I feel like obviously Gray came in last season, got a lot of game time out of position, having to do a job filling in at centre back. And I always think that experience that he had to go through, he'll kind of be better off for it, kind of put himself into that turmoil, not being scared of it. A very difficult situation to be in last season, playing out of position, playing nearly half, I think over half our league games potentially as well. I think he's great temperament. Like you said, if he makes a mistake, he does go again. He's brave. He averages more progressive passes per 90 than Paulinho and Bentancur, which is not that hard.
Which is your problem.
But we need someone like him in midfield. I think it's about finding the partner for him now rather than, the other way around. So I'd love it.
Right, last two, West Ham and Wolves.
Proper West Ham, Freddie Potts.
It's the most West Ham looking player.
Yeah. But we joke about that.
Big impact though. He's had a big impact.
For sure,
big impact. That side.
Man of the match. I watched him against Newcastle, which I think was his first game. He is kind of everywhere, and I do think West Ham need someone like that. They need a Mark Noble. They need a Declan Rice. They need someone they can rally around who loves it and gets it. And I think, especially for that stadium where they're at the minute, they need someone like him. I think it's going to become very, very important to this West Ham team.
Okay.
Over the next sort of.
Last one then.
Last but not least, Wolves.
So similarly, again, Wolves fans are going to go, what? Because he's barely played. He is he's like 6'2", but he's so silky. He's unbelievable. I think basically he's going to leave, and by this time next year, we're going to be seeing him at another club and going, why didn't they hold on to Fer Lopez? I think he's a brilliant player. Played under Giraldez at Vigo, and they were fantastic. Great player.
He looks very happy.
Let's put him up.
Stick him up.
Very happy.
And there is confirmation of Alex's. I suppose it is kind of breakout stars, but players that are going to go to the next level in 2026. Stock rising in 2026 to keep an eye on. So let us know what you think of that at home.